connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit TakeTwoRadio.com.
Hi, this is Dave Roundtree, co-author of the soon-to-be-released Demon Street USA, author of Paranormal Technology, an all-around science geek in the paranormal. And when I'm not doing anything, I sit around and chuckle to the antics of the Malliard Report.
The opinions expressed on the Malliard Report are those of the host and participants and are not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any simulcasting radio network or sponsor. All listeners are advised to make their own decisions.
It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report. The paranormal talk radio show with Jim Malliard as your host. See what lies beneath any paranormal activity. Go inside a world that others don't want.
It is the Malliard Report, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tonight's Malliard Report is brought to you by Spectrum Light, the best IR boosters available. Works wonderfully well with Sony night shot cameras. Visit SpectrumState.com. Or go over, I need you to all do me a favor who listen to this program. There's a bunch of you who've already done this, and you'll find out next week. But if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, sign up for my newsletter, because I'm going to be telling you how to save money on your Spectrum lights in my newsletter next Tuesday before the show. Or follow them on Twitter at AU Paranormal. I'm excited. Gary won't even tell me how much he's going to save people, but I know Gary, so it's going to be good. So, all right, my guest tonight is Coyote CHRIS SUTTON. I almost called you Cowboy again.
Cowboy? No, you did that once before.
I know I've done that once before. It's just kind of, and the worst thing is it's stuck in my head.
I'm about as far away from being a cowboy as you can imagine, I think.
That's what makes it so ridiculous. That's why I don't understand why I want to do it all the time.
Oh, well, it's better to be called in a wrong way than not be called at all, I suppose.
We'll keep telling you that. So for the people who don't know who you are, don't know about you, give me that Twitter-based bio so people know who you are.
Let's see, I practice shamanism, I do healing work, I do paranormal investigations more from a spiritual point of view, more because some people call it mediumship or through shamanism or whatnot. So I'm a practitioner of the mystic arts, and basically what I do is I use whatever gifts I have to try to help people in a spiritual way. So I get into all sorts of different things, with healing, like I said, healing and doing spiritual advisement, and also helping those who are having problems with hauntings and things like that.
That sums it up pretty well, pretty easily. So what got you started into the spiritual teaching, I guess, for the lack of a better term to call it?
It was, actually, I grew up in a Unitarian church, which is pretty, not particularly, it's not biblical or anything like that. It's basically humanism, which is, you're here to be good to people, and there may be a God, there might not be a God. So, just do the best you can and muddle on, and we'll be smart about things and talk about that sort of stuff, and not much, singing and that kind of thing. So, with all very intelligent people and whatnot. So I was pretty kind of agnostic, I suppose. I thought there was something going on, but I never was quite sure. And when I was 35 years old. I was 5 years older than you, as a matter of fact. My wife took me to a powwow. And I went into one of the buildings there, and it was at a place where it's a county fair grounds, and they have those stockyard buildings and stuff like that. And you go, it's got like a roof, and the sides are open, but they're having a warriors dance in there called a gourd dance, and the drumming is very intense. And that's when I had my first experience of knowing there was another world. And it's like, as I always call it, I had my foot in this world and my foot in the other world. And I knew something was going on. I didn't know what. So I went out into the vendors and stuff, and I just started looking. I said, okay, there's got to be an answer here. So, and I'm usually always looking at books, and so I grabbed this book, Black Elk Speaks, and started reading about that, which is about Native American spirituality, and actually more specifically about Sioux Indian spirituality. And that's where the ball got rolling right there, and it just took off from there.
you're just like me. I always look for. There's always something. I'm always missing something when I'm out.
Mm-hmm. I missed it for a long time. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As I said, I'm always looking for something. I can't ever put my fingers on it though.
Yeah, that's not unusual. I mean, people have that itch and they want to scratch it. There's something that they feel like they're missing. You should actually sit down with me someday, and we should talk about this. But that's kind of what I try to help people do, is find that those things that they're missing in their lives. But yeah, and maybe it's not your time yet, too, Jim. I mean, as far as you might still, if you've got, your life has to evolve to a certain point where it hits you in when you're actually ready. And I think that's the way it was with me. I wasn't ready until then. I was always a hail, well met, go out and drink a few beers and that kind of thing. Life was not spiritual much at all. I was actually, when this was all going on, I was about ready to take the law school admission test. And I just got out of that mood real quick after all this started happening. So I've been staying in social services ever since.
There's got to be a joke in there somewhere, but I'm missing it right at this point.
I know. It's not something. It's not something I sure didn't ask for it, but I'm more than happy with it. I mean, has it been an easy ride? No, it's been difficult. I mean, it hasn't been great financially and stuff like that, because I just do what I feel I should do, and there's probably some chances I've missed, in the material world that I've missed, but I still wouldn't have it any other way, because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I found that thing, that you're talking about, and I said, this is it. And that's what I do, and that's what my life's about. Oh
yeah, and there are more important things than money. Clearly, I mean, we could probably spend an hour on that, but let's try not to. So you started this. So at what point did you identify that this is where you were headed? Because you picked up the book, and I'm going to jump forward a little bit, but
sure.
When did you realize that this is actually, for the lack of a better term, a calling for you than something you were interested in?
I think it hit me. There's things go in progressions. It's kind of fun, because you look back, it's like your life really kind of reads like anybody's real life reads like a novel of some kind. You can't believe things happen the way they do, and you look back and it makes sense. So I picked this book up and I get interested. I said, okay. I wonder if I can learn more about this, So that's when you do that. You're kind of putting out to the universe, hey, I want to learn something here. And so I pick up a paper and look at this thing. Oh, there's a pipe ceremony up in Chicago. I live close to Chicago then. And so I go up to this thing and I meet some people. And the pipe ceremony is a Sioux ceremony where the pipe is shared and people pray and things like that, and which is odd for me. And so I did that and met some people there who taught me a lot of things. And then I went to a conference, and I met the guy who taught me how to do tarot numerology and things like that. He was a Mohegan Indian named Gun Hollingsworth, and he lived in Chicago, and he taught me those things and about how to help people spiritually. And I think right around that time, it's a progression. It's like all of a sudden you get to a certain point. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But I tell you what, I'm still narrowing it down at times. Therefore I was real wide out there. I knew all this. I was reading all this stuff, and now it's more kind of like, it's real basic now. It's like help people. But when did it really hit me? I think it really hit me probably about, right after I started doing card readings, the first real spiritual, actual work I started doing. And so just, watching people learn about things that, you're helping them find. That's what did it. That's what really let me, I knew I wasn't at the end of my trip yet. That I wasn't all the way. I had learned everything I needed to learn, which I still haven't. I don't think anybody really stops learning, but I knew I was on the right path then, seeing that I could help people with what I had learned.
Sounds good. So I guess the ultimate question that I get asked all the time, it seems like every interview I do, this question comes to me, and I keep dodging it. So when's the book coming out? When's your book coming out?
Oh, you know what? I think about it. I really do. I think about it. And I'm the son of an English teacher. My father, who he passed in 2011. He's 91. So he lived a good long life. And he was a great guy. But I am my, when you're raised by an English teacher, they read your stuff and they critique it, and he was very gifted when it came to literature and things like that. But I am so critical of what I write. It's like pulling teeth to get me to write something. I can stand and talk about things all day long. That's no problem for me. I start writing, and I use every right word. But now, that being said, I've been thinking, I really need to do this. I've got things I could say. It's just a matter of the format. And actually, what I actually thought about doing is asking like guys like you and some of the other guys like Wes Forsythe and some of these other guys I've been on shows with, and ask them to ask me questions and then answer them and write a book that way, because I do much better when I answer questions. You know what I'm saying? It's a way to get, because I just feel kind of pompous when I'm just writing. This is what I think. But if somebody's asked me a question, like Bill Bachman, something like that, somebody's asked me a question, then I can respond, and I can go on for quite a while. It's like, if I did it that way, where I just said, all you guys emails and said, okay, ask me the questions you would ask me, like you would have asked me on the show, and then go from there. And then write it. So I'm actually really thinking about doing that.
And here's the other alternative: just put it out as an ebook, or not an ebook, an audio book.
Mm-hmm.
And people can just listen to it.
Yeah, then I probably worry about how it's sounding and stuff. So I probably. I'm terrible. I'm very self-critical when it comes to that type of stuff. But not so much about. I actually gone back and listened to a couple of shows I was on, and I wasn't too hard on myself. So, but I'm always looking at words little phrases or words that I use too often, and I say, oh gosh, don't say what not 20 times in an interview and something like that. So, that type of stuff. But I'm getting better at it.
It happens to all of us. We all have our phrases that we go to when we need to explain something that we should be able to easily explain, but we can't because we're...
That's right.
So
I know it. But, it'll happen. It'll happen one of these days. I think that's how I'm going to do it, though. So expect an email or something from me.
You just need my favorite joke. You just need a ghostwriter. That's all you need.
A ghostwriter, I know. I got enough of those around as it is.
I know.
I don't want... They're not much good at writing, though, I'm afraid.
They should start paying rent, actually.
Yeah. Kidding. They seem to be gone when you want the rent, though. The thing is, get a ghostwriter, you got to pay them, so I might as well just do it myself.
I know,
I can't afford to pay somebody for it.
Everybody wants their cut of the pie anymore.
I know it. Yeah, believe it. Well, I guess I could see that. If you wrote somebody's book for them, you should probably get paid for it.
I'll pay them on a commission. They better write it so it sells.
New York Times bestseller, you can get a cut of the pie, sure. That's an idea.
Yeah, and there just went a whole bunch of prospective resumes getting torched as I said that.
Yeah.
That's going to do it
Makes
for that guy. I do that pretty well. We were talking about that right before the show started. And
yeah.
Oh, well. Speaking of making friends, we've been promoting this show about this topic tonight, which is an interesting topic, and I'm just going to let it go at pace level, so I don't even know where I want to start with this, but you want to talk about Thanksgiving. Well,
I think one of the comments I've made, I think we were talking about, because it's so close to Thanksgiving, so I can tell Thanksgiving story. I mean, I'm not enough of a historian to make a whole show around it, but I got a story I found on the internet that I really liked. It saved me from having to go through a bunch of stuff and write it myself. Since I started talking about this late last week, and so I'm like, I don't want to write this thing. So I did get a story off the internet. Do you want me to read it?
Go ahead if you want.
Okay. I mean, it's sort of like it's called The Real Story of Thanksgiving. It was written by a lady named Susan Bates, and I believe she's native. It came off a Native American website. But it starts with most of us associate the holiday with happy pilgrims and Indians sitting down to a big feast. And that did happen once. The story began in 1614 when a band of English explorers sailed home to England with a ship full of Patuxent Indians bound for slavery. They left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out those who had escaped. By the time the pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts Bay, they'd found only one living Patuxent Indian, a man named Squanto, who had survived slavery in England and knew their language. He taught them to grow corn and to fish and negotiate a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation. At the end of their first year, the Pilgrims held a great feast honoring Squanto and the Wampanoags. But as word spread in England about the paradise to be found in the New World, religious zealots called Puritans began arriving by the boatload. Finding no fences around the land, they considered it to be in the public domain. And Eddie Izzard does a wonderful, by the way, on the side note, Eddie Izzard does a wonderful bit about meeting Native Americans in public domain and stuff like that. But anyway, joined by other British settlers, they seized land, captured strong young natives for slaves, and killing the rest. But the Pequot Nation had not agreed to the peace treaty Squanto had negotiated, and they fought back. The Pequot War was one of the bloodiest Indian wars ever fought. In 1637, near present-day Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe had gathered for their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. In the pre-dawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot or clubbed to death, while the terrified women and children who huddled inside the longhouse were burned alive. The next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving because 700 unarmed men, women, and children who had been murdered. Cheered by their victory, the brave colonists and their Indian allies attacked village after village. And it goes on to talk about more slavery and more deaths. Following the unespecially successful raid against the Pequot in what was now Stamford, Connecticut, the churches announced the second day of Thanksgiving to celebrate victory over the heathen savages. During the feasting, the hacked-off heads of natives were kicked through the streets like soccer balls. Even the friendly Wampanoag did not escape the madness. Their chief was beheaded, and his head was impaled on a pole in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where it remained for 24 years. So basically, it goes on to talk about how George Washington set aside only one day of Thanksgiving rather than have one after each massacre and down the line. But basically, it's what happens to the people that tried to help them the most. That helped the settlers, the Pilgrims, the most were the ones that were had their heads taken off and impaled on spikes, eventually down the road. So that was how really the first thing. That's how Thanksgiving got started. And I just find it, because today we kind of forget about that part of it, and probably something we as a culture should not forget. It's too easy to get back into those things. So that's kind of the story right there. It's kind of gruesome, actually, but
well, it's gruesome and it's horrible, and I'm glad you brought it up, though.
But yeah, it's you hate to, but this is the way it was, and Thanksgiving should be about thanking Creator for all the good things we have, which is what the Green Corn Festival is about. And the Cherokee also have a Green Corn Festival. Another, these are all based on the seasons, and so the harvest is in. They've had game, they've got game to put up, and have been turned into, dried beef and things like that. And everything's ready to go so they can sit out the winter. They have a big feast and celebration, not just for themselves, but to thank Creator and also the animals and the plant people and everybody who's helped them gain enough food to last another year. And that's what that time is for. And not just to say how great we are, but to say how great everything is. That we give thanks to the turkey, we give thanks to the roast beast, and to the corn and all these other things we're so thankful to have. That we kind of forget that. We take these things for granted. And this is every day for these folks. But thank the beast that gave us our meat for the day. And we've adopted this thing, this tradition, so to speak, but it came at a huge, horrible price.
Yeah, and it's not how I hate to say this, but how we're taught it happened, or how, we're taught the first part, and then gets ripped out, just like some other things in other books, anyways.
Yeah, history's written by the victors. That's how it always is. I mean, you read it's like when the Romans invaded England and pretty much destroyed the Celtic culture up there and the Druids and whatnot. I mean, they're the ones who wrote the text about what happened, so it doesn't sound so bad. But it must have been pretty horrific. And we don't teach our kids what happened. And, if you don't learn from the past, and this is very trite, but you're doomed to repeat those same mistakes. But you need to know these things.
Oh, I totally agree. And it's trying to put the right words on this here. I don't have the phrase to go with, but especially in the light of the events that have happened in the last 24 hours, you just you start my my worlds are merging here, and I've been thinking about that quite a bit today too. So.
Yeah, I live about 20 minutes from there, from Ferguson. I'm just right across the river from St. Louis.
So you have a clearer picture of this than I do, of course, but.
Yeah, I mean, but it's terrible. I mean, it's an awful stuff, and there's just so many. I wish there was an easy answer for all this, and there's not. Because there's things that need to be changed all around, and not just in one, facet of the whole thing. But when I was growing up, I mean, we had. Well, I grew up here in Alton, which is right next to the town where I live in now, and I grew up around race riots. I remember a furniture store being burned down. I remember being under curfew. I remember schools were having big fights and things like that. So yeah, it was a nasty time, and this is right around the time when the Civil Rights Act was being brought into law, which is a great thing. But it was difficult. And so when I see this happening again, it's like, geez, it's, how many years? Probably 48 years ago, and we're here doing it, and the same stuff's happening. Oh my gosh, we should have gotten past this, and we haven't. And it's so sad to see.
It is. It's horrible to think about how. I mean, another great, I don't want to say passion of mine, but something that I take note of is the Civil War, and you think it's been 150 years since that, and you'd think, what was the gain?
You see that the lines are being drawn again.
Yeah.
In some respects, I mean, I'm not saying we're going to have another Civil War, but the same lines are being drawn up again. I'm like, oh my goodness, let's get past this, folks. We're all Americans, and we all need to make it together. We're all different. There's a lot of difference between us. But we got to make it work, and we got to listen to one another and stop with this secularism and just all try to work it out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're all humans. It doesn't matter what we believe in or who we are.
Yeah, we got to get along. We got to support each other, and whichever way we have to have empathy for one another. And that's one thing I think we've lost. Is the ability to feel how somebody else may feel, at least to try to put yourself in that place. We get too caught up with taking care of ourselves and looking after just our own, and we forget that people are just people, and they have different challenges, and they have different beliefs, and they have their lives go in different ways than ours do, and they need different things. As we need different things, we all need different things to make it. And we have to realize that and try to think about, instead of what's best for me, but what can I do for the whole country? What can I do what's best for everybody? What can I do to help? I understand that somebody else is in pain. What can we do to make it better? And instead we draw our lines and hide behind our doors and don't, try not to, and we don't care enough about each other.
Yeah.
But, there's a whole sociological reason for all that stuff. I know that. But, that's a big part of my spiritual work is try to develop that is empathy in people for other people. And that, Jesus, what's Jesus? Jesus is probably the most original teaching. A lot of the stuff you can get from other places, but he says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that's empathy. That is getting us to feel what other people might be feeling. That's what Jesus taught. That's one of the things that really impresses me about the teachings of Jesus is that statement.
And I hear it, and I hear you saying it, and the disappointing thing is how many of his believers don't understand it and don't take it at face value.
I know. Yeah, boys, there's a whole other show right there. I'll share a story. I worked for an agency that we try to help older people find services and things like that, not just older people now, but people of all ages. And in St. Louis there's a group called SAGE, and they're a wonderful group, and they talk about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, type of topics. And so we had it at in our agency sponsorship. We had it at a church over in the south of where I live now, where I work south of here. And I forget the name of the church. It's a Christian church. And we had it there, and it had a nice crowd, and these people were, welcomed, and they talked. It was great. It was a great little, it was a great program. People learned a lot of things because, social service people, we have to know how to help everybody. And you can't be choosy about who you're going to help. And you have to understand people. That's part of being empathetic, is learning about, what their life is like. But anyway, I was talking to the minister after the program. I looked at him and I said, it's good to see a Christian church, a Christian fellowship actually following the teachings of Jesus. And he looked at me and he started to laugh and he goes, thank you. And that's how I see it. It's like, love your neighbors, you love yourself. We don't exclude anybody. It's about love.
And I'll say it if you want. It's just going to make, if you just do that, just for a day, and treat everybody better, you'll be better off.
Oh, you feel better. And you learn more about people, and you're not so unsure about them or afraid of them. It's like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. That person's not so bad. It's just, it's taking that risk. And, it's so many people are kind of taught, we're kind of taught to, shy away from people who are different than us. And no, I have more fun talking to people that I don't know much about and about what they're doing and stuff. And it's a great thing because you just experience so many things. It's not only enriching for those people, it's enriching for you.
And that leads us to a whole other topic here, the lack of social skills of people, the art of conversation.
Yeah, right. Well, when you text all the time or tweet and things, which, I'm not quite as bad as you are, but I'm constantly looking at my tweets and tweeting, and my kids are getting on me. My own kids are the tech-savvy ones get on me about being on the Twitter all the time. So, we're used to talking in 140 characters or less. And but, the art of conversing with somebody else, just, like at an airport. You ever sit at the airport and watch too many people talk to each other?
No.
That don't know each other? No, they don't do it. They just don't do it. I enjoy it sometimes. I'll strike up conversations with people, just to see what they're about, and just to be friendly, and it's a lot of times you end up learning something you didn't know, and knowing new people and things like that, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing when you are at a restaurant or at a mall and you bump into somebody, and you say, "Excuse me," whatever, and they look at you like you are an alien because you spoke to them.
Yeah, I know, exactly. It's a strange world. And part because, I think there's been lots of things written about how much we move, and, communities are so fluid that people get to know each other like they used to. People used to be, you lived in a neighborhood and you stayed in that neighborhood. Nowadays you don't so much, and, everybody moves around, and they do feel alienated. So what are people doing that feel alienated? They tend to guard themselves against potential harm because they don't trust, they're kind of grown up not trusting people if they've not seen them on a Twitter screen or something like that. And they don't take the chance to meet them because they're not taught to. When little children are taught not to talk to people that they don't know, and there's so many ways. And you've got, I've been through it. My kids are older now. You're going through it. You just worry about stuff like that, but it's almost in the culture now. If you smile at a child and say hello, it's like you're being a creeper.
Oh yeah,
and it's
horrible.
Like no. And it's like no. Be mindful and things, and teach them how to be safe, but don't shut them off from people.
Yeah, I waved at a little kid the other day, and the mother looked at me like I handed him a loaded gun.
I know. It's just, oh man, it's just everybody's got this in their head. There's so much news coverage of all these bad things going on. And that's all people are inundated with. And so, they expect the worst out. We're being taught to expect the worst out of everybody instead of trying to find the good in them. And everybody's got good in them somewhere, even the most evil, acting person. We may never see it, but it's there. It's a shame. It's a shame to see how things have gone downhill like that. And from like it also produces kind of a strange energy, and it's that I feel sometimes, and like with this thing over here, I can just feel kind of a heaviness over the whole area, over this whole thing, and just on a sort of a psychic level, and that's difficult to deal with. I have to kind of start trying to get my mind off of that kind of stuff, because otherwise I'll get inundated. I mean, I'll get too wrapped up in it, and with all the hurt and stuff like that, it's not much fun.
This is kind of a weird question because I should have probably asked you about this before, but here goes. Do you see aura colors of people?
Do I aura colors?
Yeah.
No, I'm not much on I can see real dark colors, like if it's if somebody's in a strong depression or real down, they kind of put off to me like a little dark cloud. Which you ever seen cartoons with the characters got dark clouds over their heads?
Mm-hmm.
That's real. I mean, somebody who ever picked that up first, that's a real thing. That they look like that. They've got that little dark cloud. Now I can see the outline of their energies pretty well and how much it's radiating. Now its colors not a whole lot. I can intuit them better than I can see them. But no, actually, my wife can see colors. I can't, not very well. Real dark ones, I mean, I can sense them better than I can see them.
Because we were just talking about energies, and that's kind of just popped in my random thought of the night, I guess.
Yeah, but that's the stuff like those energies get put off. So like I can see the energy around people if it's rearing up and whatnot. Because you can tell with angry people, you can feel them come into a room, and you just know something bad. Something you feel like something bad's about to go down. So you get tensed up and you start looking around, and so you can feel that, and that's how those people, angry people affect other people. So you got a whole bunch of angry people. That just affects the mood of a whole area, and to me it does. I mean, I can certainly feel it. And I think it influences other people without them really knowing it. The old mob mentality thing.
Yeah. Everybody
gets scared, or everybody starts in tune to these negative feelings, and bad things start happening.
Safety in groups.
Mm-hmm. Or madness in groups, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
One group can rise out of any of that stuff.
After watching some of the video from last night, I guess safety in groups is not necessarily what I meant to say either.
Yeah, I know. The problem, part of that is though, too, the guys that are. I think most of the people are peaceful. I think there's a handful of people. That seems to be the consensus over here. There's some opportunistic people who are wanting to burn and loot, and they're places they're torching places in their own community, and some of them are owned by their own neighbors. They're not chains.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't.
That one I don't get either. I don't get that. You're not attacking corporate America here. You're attacking people who you live with, that who are trying to make a living, and that it's just like I said. It's just some people just want to loot, and that's they want to make a
yeah, but
profit.
these are probably the same people that will be doing it 6 months from now.
Yeah, sure. Oh no,
they just have better cover now because they can.
Yeah, it's easier to do. I mean, they'll be looking to steal something some other way. It's a good place to run your business that way. If you got all this madness going on, you just go in there and take advantage of all that, because the cops aren't going to come after you for that. So, I remember when I was younger, they'd shoot looters.
Yeah,
they would do that. Back in the riots back then, people started looting stores. They'd start shooting them. So I mean, I'm thankful we got past that. It's not worth it to kill somebody over something like that. But
well, it puts an end to it pretty quick, though.
It does. So I mean, at what cost? I mean, that's more barbaric than actually,
I know.
the people
I agree
who are stealing television sets.
I know. I'm just playing the fun part.
I know.
You told me to light your fire, so you want it. Well.
Yeah, I understand. I understand why people feel the way they do. The people that say kill them and stuff like that, but that's not going to solve anything.
Yeah,
it's going to make it worse. It's just going to be it's not going to work.
Yeah, and putting another body in the ground doesn't solve anything. So.
No. Mm-mm. Nope. It's going to make be other people die because of that.
Yep. So let's get back into the real, the normal,
okay.
Well, the paranormal.
Normal.
So when you said you were more spiritual when you investigate, how help me define that for people who are nerds and want their meters and their all that fun stuff.
Let me start with first with the people, the meters and stuff. I think that's wonderful. I think people should try to get evidence into the cameras and the EVPs. That's cool stuff. I love working with people who do that. I carry a millimeter. I have a ghost box and a couple other things that I use just to kind of verify what I'm doing. But when I say spiritual, I mean about anything I do is spiritual. So I'm looking at a perspective of, okay, what is here? Is it something that's in distress? Is it something that will cause distress? Is it hurting? Is it hurting anybody else? Does it need help? Can I communicate with it and help it do whatever it needs to do? And so that's kind of how I look at it. Is like I'm just there to help the situation, to find what's going on, and to help it.
So, I guess how do you bring it to a conclusion? Because there are times it seems to me that I get more questions than answers.
Yeah, conclusion. In one respect, I'm lucky in how I look at these things, because I don't worry about proving anything. Whereas a lot of people, that's their big thing, and I'm more power to them. I'm all for that. But as far as it goes, did you find evidence to that? Did you do this? No, and that does. I don't feel bad about that. That's not what I do. How do I bring things to a conclusion? Well, it depends what needs to be done. I never go in with a preconceived notion. I just I have things I carry with me that I use to house cleanse and to protect houses and to cleanse people and protect people. If something is bad, let's say there is a spirit bothering a family, and so what I do is I cleanse the house, then I seal it off. I go through the whole house I go through the rooms, I either rattle or bell or something like, or drums, create some noise, shake things up. Then I bring in sage to help drive away the negative energies. I use candlelight to bring in the light of spirit, the positive white light. And then I use sweetgrass, which calls in the good spirits, the spirit helpers. And then once I've gone through the whole house, I will do the perimeter of the house, and I'll use like black salt or something like that, and go around the whole house to seal the work. But while I'm doing this, and that will take care of it for a time, but is that a guarantee nothing will ever bother them again? No, it's not. So I teach the people who live there how to do it themselves, and show them how to cleanse or to fight back, if they're having a bad time. Because that's just the way I do it. I don't want to be called. I want them calling me every time to come do it. I want to teach them to do it so they can stand up for themselves if that's the kind of issue they have. So basically, that's how I try to bring closure to a situation where there's something negative going on, and they would like to be left alone, and that's how I do that. But it might be around the person themselves, and it's not the house. I've had work with people who. Sometimes you work a lot with people who have had lots of personal problems. Some people are mentally ill. Some people have other issues like that. And they may be seeing things, they may not. They may be experiencing things, they may not be. But you got to take them seriously. It's hard. It's sometimes once you figure out that there's a mental illness involved, it's easy not to take it seriously. But to me, that's a lot of energy. People who are mentally ill put out a lot of real wild energy that I think would attract some spirits that will try to take advantage of that, if you believe in that sort of thing. It seems to attract them to those folks at times. And so you got to kind of sift through all that too, and just try to help them, to understand what's going on and to, maybe do the same things. But those are the more difficult cases. Where you're trying to help somebody there and to get closure to that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You've got to process through what they're telling you and weigh it out versus what you know about the person. You have to find out stuff about the people. You just can't.
No, you do. It's difficult. We're two reasons. Two things help me. One, I'm able to perceive very well about people. Psychic, if you want to say a psychic or whatever, or just perception, intuition, whatnot. But I'm real good at doing that. And also I've worked in social services for over 20 years. And I've worked around all sorts of people with all sorts of different problems. And so that experience helps me spot things too, and also to help talk with them. And a lot of times I'll tell people get counseling and, do this, do that, get this type of treatment to help out. Because, it's like, hey, if you're in all this distress, mental distress, it's because of something happened to you in the past, something like that. If you go get therapy and work through these issues so you don't feel so bad about them, this other stuff will calm down. because it won't be attracted to you as much. Either that or they won't be seeing it. If it's something that's tricking in their mind, then that'll go away, hopefully.
Yeah. So, wait. I do. You listen to my show a lot. I don't do this often, as much as I should, and I get yelled at it quite a bit. But I don't care. This is the Malliard Report, and my guest is Coyote CHRIS Sutton.
I heard your dog.
Yeah, see, you got excited there. See, I did something unusual, and the dog went.
Dog went up. That's why I go downstairs. That's why I always come downstairs when I'm doing a show, because it's like I'm always scared my dog will start barking. She'll hear something, a door slam, and she'll start going off, and so
yeah,
I don't let that on the air.
Yeah, I know. I normally do too, but life happens sometimes.
That's right, it does.
So I guess I have this other phrase wrote down on my notes here. So, and I don't even, again, this is just kind of one of these things that I know you want to talk about, but I don't know how to bring it up, so I'm just going to bring it up.
Okay.
Spirit animals. I know with your Coyote, and I run with the duck thing because I identify with it though. It's not just because of my last name. I identify with it.
Yeah, you feel close to those animals. And now, have you ever looked? I've never looked up. I didn't realize that you were that close to duck. I looked it up for you. But have you ever looked up like what the totem duck is, or what
yeah,
it means?
I've looked it up a couple of times, and it always seems so like an afterthought to people.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's like because your name and stuff, and you use the logo there, for the show, the duck there on the radio. So but that's interesting.
I just identify with it because you have to be flexible. You got to go with what you got to go with because water, land, fly, swim. You just got to go with it, and it's good.
Oh yeah, they're very adaptable. And that shows. That's probably reflecting your personality that you can do these things. You can that you're able to deal with changes in your environment, and because you need to. When to move along when, things are starting to go bad, we're starting to get too cold. And it's time to go, do something else. That's what ducks do, that time to fly, it's time to fly. And so, but then they'll find a place where they nest, like you're nesting where you're at now. And sure, but they're still adaptable.
Yeah, and the other thing, like you mentioned the radio, the banner stuff. We didn't need another ghost logo. I've seen so many horrible ones. It makes me laugh. What did you rob?
Yeah.
Did you rob the Halloween clip art for your show banner?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some bad ones too. Oh gosh.
I know. I tried that unique thing, and you got to be unique too. Good, bad, or indifferent.
You got the duck, and you got your own theme song. That's pretty cool.
Actually, see, this is the psychic in you coming out. I'm going to talk about my theme song coming up, my final thought tonight.
Okay.
I don't want to give it away, but it's part of it.
That's such a catchy tune,
Yeah, well, I got to save it. I'll let you hang out with me on the phone. I won't hang up on you, but I got to save this whole point because I don't want to butcher it now.
Okay.
Scary. I actually prepare. Normally, it's like at this point in the interview where I'm jotting notes for what I want to say for my final thought, but I actually put some time into this afternoon.
Ooh. Okay.
So I knew you were bringing it, so I wanted to bring something too.
Okay.
So.
Well, okay, we're talking about spirit animals. Okay, yeah. Right. So
how did you come across Coyote? I guess is where my question was headed.
Well, when I first, because you can have more than one spirit animal, and so when I first started, the first animal that came to me that I felt closely identified with was because I'd found some feathers and things was a hawk, red-tailed hawk, and actually I was given a name that by a guy who's a teacher, and he called me. It's basically it means Hawkeye. I can't repeat the word. I can't repeat the language because I'm not in the ceremony. But basically, what it means is red-tailed hawk, or hawk. Well, somebody who sees like a hawk. And so I kind of see that as my psychic, totem animal. And then I was. Then I kind of got into bear for a while. I was doing the shamanic journey, that's a whole different thing. But basically, you're going into a trance state, into another domain, parallel level, whatever you want to call it. And my had a first encounter with a bear there, as a spirit animal. But then now, so that I see when I do shamanic healing and things like that. That's what I go with. I'm thinking about the bear. So I associate animals with some of the things that I do. But then with Coyote, I was living at a place where there was a nice park right next to this river. And I always lived by big rivers. I've lived by the Mississippi most of my life. And when I wasn't there, I was either by the Ohio River when I lived in St. Clairsville, Ohio, and then when I lived in Northern Illinois, I lived by Kankakee, which has a Kankakee River, which is a big river. So I'm always for some reason, I'm always by rivers. So I'm walking through this park, and it's a real neat park. It's all natural grass and things like that. Just got paths and stuff. So I'm walking through there. It's early in the morning, and I'm going there, and it's got this real tall grass on either side of the path. And all of a sudden, out steps this coyote, and I mean, here, predator in the wild, and it stops and looks at me. I'm like, oh Christ! And so it just looks at me, and I look back at it, and I feel this energy transfer, and it's like he kind of like, okay, looks at me and just goes, okay, and then boom, he goes off. And so I'm like, whoa, that shook me pretty good. I said, oh, there's something to this. And so then after that, I guess about a year later, I was working in a shop in St. Louis, doing readings and things like that. There was a group of us that worked there, and I was talking to one of the guys there, and part of coyote medicine is being kind of a smart aleck to kind of help people, jog people up a little bit, and to kind of like get them to see who they truly are as people. And so I'm doing my thing. This guy looks at me and goes, "You're Coyote." And then it's like, yeah, okay. So that's it right there. Then I thought, well, I like that name, and that's I was blessed with a visit, and I'm blessed with this medicine, which is the Coyote medicine, which is to help other people see who they truly are. In a nutshell, there's other people tell you different things to me, and that's it in a nutshell. There's a lot of other different stuff that goes along with it. But that's why, it sounds cute, Coyote Chris. Ooh, that sounds really neat. That's not something I made up. I actually was visited by the Coyote himself, and then was called that by other people. And actually, other guy wasn't the only person to call me that. So that's how that came about.
So you mentioned I was going to say, you mentioned being a smart one. So who's the road runner?
Yeah, really? No, I'm the guy that orders from Acme and blows myself up. Believe me, that is, that's me to a T. I jump into stuff, and next thing I know, I'm looking down. There's nothing there. Whoops, I hold the sign say whoops on it, and down I go. No, that's me. I never know what I'm going to do. I do, and that's one of the things. The other thing, Coyote thing, is that they say things. They don't know they're going to say them, and so I always tell these stories on the shows, but I'm at Scarefest year before last, and I'm getting ready to walk on the black carpet there. They don't call it the green carpet; they call it the black carpet for the paparazzi, and they announce who you are and stuff like that. So so up in front of me is the Ghost Adventures guy, Zach's there, and Aaron. Nick wasn't there. I think Jason was there, and Billy. And so I'm just kind of standing there, and I look over this begging Zach right there. I said, "Oh, hey Zach, hey, pleased to meet you and stuff, and show's pretty cool." I said, "How come you're still alive?" And he looked at me like I was a freaking nut. I'm like, "Ooh, where'd that come from?" I meant it. Once I thought about it, I didn't regret saying it, because I'm just, I wonder that, you walk into places and talk crap, and to ghosts, and I know they kind of tone that down, but. Like, some of the stuff you guys have done, you're lucky to be alive. So, that's it, right? I don't care who you are, I guess. I just say stuff.
Well, you've run the hat trick of people that don't like me tonight before the show.
I know.
Now.
I knew Zach was on that list, and so, but yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that story, though.
It is a good story, and it's a truthful story too. There's an element to that is very profound, because that catches up with you.
It does. I mean, and that, I wish nobody any ill will, but I think those things catch up with you. That's just, and I said the very same thing. So, and I think I would never sing on the air. I wouldn't say if somebody, if I hadn't already said it, I wouldn't say it. If I wouldn't say it, I wouldn't say it on the air.
So speaking of Scarefest, do you have any events or anything that you want to promote before we run out of time?
Oh, gosh. It's wintertime. I don't have much going on right now. Everything, it's one of those times in my life where I try to set things up and they go crashing down. So I was actually trying to get some things going with the Three Girls in the Dark over in St. Louis, and with some benefits and stuff like that, but nobody wanted our help, and so which is odd. But anyway, so that's nothing was happening there. This spring I've got an event planned, but I can't say much about it yet. It does involve another show. Bill Bachman of Incubi Incarnate, we got some things planned for him, and we're going to do some stuff off of that. So that will be a big thing, and I will definitely keep people in the know on that, what's going to happen with that. So that's going to be kind of fun. That's my big thing right now. And I have other things going with. I have some friends that live a little bit north of here that own like not a farm, but it's a piece of land up in the middle of freaking nowhere. And they've run camps there before for children for about learning the old nature ways and things like that. And we're looking at starting helping people find their story about stories lived by for their life to help them improve their lives. It's called the Sacred Hunt, and I'll be doing the spiritual work for that and helping people to find themselves and to become leaders and whatnot. I mean, it's in a nutshell. It's on my website at www.coyotechris.com if anybody's interested in learning about it. We're still getting it together. Actually got Dustin Paris is interested in helping us out on that one, so he and I have talked about that, so I'm hoping to get him on board for some of that stuff. And, people that know him, he seems to do a lot of spiritual things too. He and I got a chance to talk to each other and clicked pretty well, and so we're going to be doing some of that stuff together as well whenever we can. So those are things. So I'm in one of those periods where I don't really have anything big planned I can point to, but I'm just got a lot of things cooking.
So I want to say this because you mentioned Bill. I don't know where these rumors come from, but I wish Bill all the best. I wish every show host all the best. I really don't care. I'm busy doing my own thing.
Oh,
first and foremost. So anyways, just to clear that up for anybody out there that may be trying to start something that they don't know anything about. I really don't care. I've got my own listener count, I've got too much of my own stuff going on to worry about what somebody else is doing.
Oh, I didn't know what you and I don't even know proper etiquette. I don't even know if I should be talking about other shows.
No, I don't care. Other hosts care, but I truthfully, Bill does a good show. Wes does a good show. I can name probably 15 or 20 people. Bill Bain from the Far Side Podcast. I'm over at Beyond Dark Matter all the time over there chatting away on their forums. I really don't care.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. That's why I said that's why I mentioned that stuff. Because it's a small community of people, and everybody. I know most everybody. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to hate people. Well, I do.
No,
you've listed a few of them, but they're never coming on my show anyways.
Well, you shoot straight, and some people, and it does sometimes. Things happen that get upset people, but those tend to blow over after a while.
Yeah, and funny, this is what's kind of set my wheels in motion. I've had a number of people just flat out crush the show on different forums, and then now I'm starting to see they are still listening to the show and enjoying the show.
Some people just have to crush things. I guess I never saw the sense in it. Like you said, it's too small. We can have differences and things like that, but in the long run, there's no sense in. Everybody's got their own thing, and so, just be your best you can be and do your job and do what you think is right and just take it from there and don't worry about what other people are doing.
And the worst part of it all is there's pennies on the dollar that people think are out there for internet radio shows. Nobody's getting rich out of this, so let's all enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't think you make much anything. That's another story I could tell right there. But
well, actually, we could talk about that here in a few minutes. But I've got to wrap. I've got to get to this final thought, Chris. So let's do this. Okay. Tonight's show is brought to you by Spectrum Light. Some of the best IR boosters available. Works wonderfully well with Sony Night Shot cameras. Visit SpectrumState.com or go over to italkparanormal.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Next week in the preview video, I've been doing video for a couple months now. Starting to catch. People are starting to like it. If you haven't been paying attention to your newsletter, I get statistics, folks, so don't lie to me. But next week, Next week, you want to tune in to see what I'm talking about because it's going to be exciting.
Hey, I've watched them before.
I know.
I'm one of those 11% that open my attachments. Open those things.
Okay. So my final thought tonight is based on the word polarizing people or polarizing items. you mentioned the theme song earlier. Some people, like you and me, absolutely love it and get it. It's supposed to be light. It's supposed to be airy. It's supposed to set. I sit here and turn my headphones way too loud to listen to it, and sometimes I forget when I start talking, and my guest scares the crap out of me. But anyways, but there is another crowd of people who think it's cheesy and horrible. Hey, here's the thing. It's polarizing. You either love it or you hate it. Okay? So there's people, there are radio show hosts out there that are polarizing as well. This is where I'm headed with this. You got Alex Jones. People either love him or hate him. Same with Rush Limbaugh. You love him or you hate him. Now, I've said all of this to drive this final point home. George Norrie. People either love him or hate him. And it seems the crowds that I run in hate him. Why? Because he's not Art Bell. Okay, that's fine. That's one reason to hate him. Because he does commercials for whatever. Well, if somebody's willing to write the check, you've got to do the commercial. Sorry, it's just a fact of life. And that's what Premiere or Clear Channel or whatever the heck they're called now wants. They want polarizing figures. Look at Rush Limbaugh. That's about as polarizing as it gets.
Yep.
So you got to understand that. That's what radio people strive to be. Well, I don't strive to be polarizing because I think I'm too nice, but that's here. I just try to ride the middle out and put the guest out there. But the other, that's part of the commitment it takes to be polarizing. And I know there are a bunch of people out there who don't like my show and don't like my style. So I guess even de facto not trying to be, it just happens. So instead of, we're going to bring this full circle, instead of reaching out and telling people how bad George Norrie is, I get it, I understand your problems. Tell them about the good stuff that you listen to. And maybe if you stop listening to George and stop talking about George will just go away. That's where I'm at with that tonight. Personally, I don't listen to him. I didn't listen to Art Bell that much because he was on while I was still in high school. The end of when he was winding down, as people like to joke about. And so I've never been a Coast person, so I'm not brand loyal. So, anyways, that's tonight's show. Chris, just hang out with me for a few more minutes. We'll talk about some things here.
You got it.
And here we go.
Well, before we flip that on-air sign to the off position, a quick reminder. For all things about the report, previews, and reviews, go to italkparanormal.com. That's italkparanormal.com. Good night.
It's the Paranormal Show. The fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. The Paranormal Show. The fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. Brought to you by the Malliard Report. Visit TMR247.com to hear more.
Get connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit Take2Radio.com.